right. Thank you, Walla Voodoo. Okay, so let's get into a couple of the major stories and a quick recap of some of the stories that are out there. So first off, I'm going to just mention a couple of these just quickly. ICE turns to airport employees to help arresting passengers. One employee says, "I don't want to be doing this." Oh, that's okay. The United States isn't fascist in any way. Do you have a brown shirt? Because that might help. Also, the police state mentality is strong with these two. One a tax eater, the other a media talking head. As James Percival, one of the top mucky mucks in the law on the DHS side, is calling for immediate exit of all illegal immigrants. Yes, very important stuff. He's a big dude, and he's got a lot to say. So here we go. Very exciting.
General Counsel for the Department of Homeland Security, James Percival. All right, James, what you've done here is incredible work. How fast can we start the deportation of these people?
How fast can we start the deportation of these people? Need I say more? I don't think so. That's okay, because they think it's all constitutional. They think that speaking up about this being unethical, immoral, unconstitutional, they think I'm the pariah. And they're out there saying, how fast can you ship these people out of here? How fast can you round them up? Are there boxcars involved, or is it just planes? I'm just wondering. And then we've got this. Oh, look. Yes, that's right. Judge weighs First Amendment case involving FIU student protest. Here's ICE protests and the First Amendment. You got it. Here we go. Yeah.
At 6 tonight, a federal judge will decide if Florida International University is violating the First Amendment by disciplining 7 students who participated in a silent demonstration. They were challenging FIU's decision to contract with ICE. And good evening, I'm Jim Barry.
And I'm Naja Sherman. Lauren Pastrana has the night off. Thank you for joining us. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor is your reporter live in downtown Miami, where the student-led group protested the school. Yvonne.
Jim and Naja, that hearing was held here today at federal court. And almost 2 hours later, attorneys and students came out of the building saying they're optimistic about their case.
I am one of these 7 students charged by my university for engaging in a silent, non-disruptive protest.
Andrew Caro is a member of the coalition Icebreakers FIU. He and 6.
So let me just mention this. This was a silent protest. They stood up. Now, if this were a private school, that would be different. The private school can come up with its own rules, decide things. If they change the rules midway, people can say it's a breach of contract. They can sue them for that. This is a state entity. Now, again, the lawsuit pertains to the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. That's the wrong foot to put forward. It should be about the Florida Constitution, because, again, the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says Congress shall write no law abridging the freedom of speech. You have to look at the state constitutions. And even though some people might say that there was this thing after the Civil War called the incorporation doctrine, that's just a legal doctrine that was adopted by judges. It doesn't mean anything. So very clearly, you look at the Florida Constitution, they do have a protection for freedom of speech. And this was a government subsidized, government run university. So they should be able to speak anywhere, anytime, and not even just the students. Anybody who's having their tax money used for any scintilla of that university has a right to go do what he or she wants on the university's grounds, because their money's been taken from them. So they should be able to do what they want on it, right? Isn't it theirs, magically ours, the royal we? Well, obviously that's unmanageable, but they're going to go after these people. And most of all, I want to give you this one from Arizona about the American Indians. Federal judge clears path for border wall construction in Arizona. Now, if you're from AZ, let me know. A federal judge in Arizona cleared the path for border wall construction. Is there a problem there? Yes. A federal judge should read the Constitution and should know that there is no place in the Constitution that allows for a federal border wall anywhere except around military garrisons and territories. That's all. Once the territories become states, they enter the union with all the so-called rights and privileges of any other state. They're not supposed to cede land. They don't have to cede land. And even if they could cede land, there's nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government a so-called magic power to control the land. They haven't amended the Constitution. Then there's the whole idea of policing it against whom? What's the border going to be doing? It will be stopping people. What kinds of people and under what jurisdiction does the federal government operate to stop the people? Again, we go back to what I said before. Is there an invasion from a nation state? If there is, then you declare war against the invading army in their uniforms. If they're not in a uniform and they're not associated with a nation state, then you issue letters of marque and reprisal. And then you can't go into the state without, if there's no declaration of war, you can't go in unless you are asked to go in by the legislature, or if the legislature is out of session, by the governor of the state. Article 4, Section 4. So guess what? Yeah, they're screwing over Indians. A federal judge in Arizona cleared the path for border wall construction in the state after a Native American tribe attempted to block its construction. Now, why would they do that? The Tohono O'odham Nation, now think about the irony of this, had argued that constructing the United States border wall along its southern border with Mexico would constitute illegal trespassing on tribal lands, as well as effectively shrink the reservation. So you get where I'm going on this. In order to stop what the United States and MAGA people depict as people crossing over into the United States, coming in without permission into the magical, wonderful, heavenly world of the United States of America that the American government claims, the American government is engaging in the very thing that they're claiming they're trying to stop. They're going on Indian land and they're taking Indian land. Does that make any sense to you? Is that at all probably maybe like two rams hitting each other in the head? Except I'm just talking about two basically inconsistent ideas, both coming from the federal government. One, the federal government tells you, we got to stop these interlopers who are coming into the United States, and we have to make sure that the border of the United States, even though it's not in the Constitution unless we declare war, is sanctified, that it is solid. In order to do that, we're going to cross over into the Indian territory and invade their land. We're going to take their land. I know. It's so different than what the United States has done to the American Indian for so many years. Unbelievable. You know, maybe they'll add insult to injury and they'll create one of those children's boarding schools that they had. And even though there were some claims about the boarding schools in Canada being really bad, and they turned out that some of that was erroneous. If you look at the history of these Indian boarding schools that they had in Northern America and Southern Canada, they were terrible, 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 torturous, awful stuff they did to those kids. Again, great documentary from Peter Coyote and a number of other folks about what they did to those kids right up to the maybe like 1972 or 73. It was awful. So that's some of the information. That Arizona story, I think, is just emblematic of so many of the errors, the immoral thinking, the unconstitutional thinking, the factual problems, and the inconsistencies and hypocrisies of these people. You just sit there like, are you kidding me? You're literally doing to the Indians what you claiming for the Americans you're going to protect against Mexicans. I don't understand. This is totally nuts. I mean, not to mention what the United States did to Mexico a couple times, taking all their land. Whether it be, you know, in Texas or California or, geez, man. You want to see a great show on that? Watch Pierce Brosnan season 1 of The Sun. That was awesome. That was because it goes into the whole mix of the Indians having had the land, and then the Mexicans taking some of the land near El Paso, actually, and the Rio Grande, and then the Americans coming in when Texas became a state. So who's got a legitimate claim to the land? And it's really, really quite a dramatic show. It's terrific. And Pierce Brosnan was fantastic in that show. Awesome, awesome, awesome.